So, our story today is going to be the story of Jericho. Now, that is going to be found in Joshua chapter 6, but that's a fun little side point. All right, so our story is going to be about a city called Jericho. And Jericho had these walls built around it that were so big and so tall that nobody could go in and nobody was able to come out either. And so the Lord told Joshua, he said, I've handed Jericho a king, and the men, but they're fighting over you. So march around the city with all of the men of war, and circle the city one time every day and do this for 6 days. So they spent 6 days walking around a city, which cities aren't very small. So that's a lot of walking. I would get really tired, honestly. But so they started walking, and then God told them, have 7 priests carry the 10 Commandments. And while the priests blow their trumpets, you'll hear the sound, and the people will give a mighty shout, but only do this on the 7th day. Don't let them know that you're there for the first 6 days. So Joshua called all of his people around. He said, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick up the 10 Commandments and we're going to walk around the city of Jericho one time every day for the next 6 days. And so they did. And initially, they started blowing the horns and making a whole lot of noise because they wanted the people of Jericho to see that they were there. And so Joshua stopped them and was like, hey, we can't make any noise though. We have to be super, super quiet because we don't want them to know that we're here. So they got up, they walked around the city of Jericho, and then went back to their camp and spent the rest of the day there. And then they got up and walked around the next day and went back to their camp. And they did that for 6 whole days. And so on the 7th day, they started before the sun was even up. And they got up and they started walking around the city of Jericho. But they did 7 times on the last day instead of just once. And so as soon as their 7th time around the city hit, the priests were told to blow their trumpets, and Joshua said to the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. But the city and everything in it are set apart for the Lord to destroy, because the Lord wasn't pleased with the city of Jericho. And so he said, only Rahab and everyone in her house will live, because they gave our men shelter. We sent spies in and they kept them safe. They kept them hidden. And so he goes on to say, don't touch the gold or the silver or the iron. Don't touch anything that you see value in, because it belongs to the Lord. And so as soon as Joshua stopped his story, or stopped telling them what they had to do, every single person in his army shouted. And that's a pretty loud shout. I don't think they only had 3 people. They had hundreds of people and just shouted. And as soon as they did, the wall collapsed. And the people of the city were trapped inside. But Rahab and her family were safe, and Joshua and his army got to take the city of Jericho and claim it for the Lord. So that is our story for today. So, yes.
Excellent.